Hey y'all, this is Chris with Airstream, and this is your 25-foot Globetrotter. We're gonna start right here at the front with this front solar guard. I'm gonna reach up on either side and level this out. Doing so is gonna allow us to open this front window. This front window does open outward. Of course, it's blocked by this, so you're gonna need to open the solar guard before you open the window. All the rest of the windows in the trailer that open can be opened from the inside. I will mention that in the summertime especially, the windows are going to tend to stick to the rubber gasket. So if you're opening them from the inside, if you've undone the latch and you're pushing on the handles, if they don't open readily, don't force it. Come outside with a little plastic scraper, an old credit card to free it from that rubber gasket, and then you'll be able to open it from the inside. Opening this center solar guard will also allow us to get at the side solar guards. Now there are rubber gaskets around the edges of these, but over time dirt and leaves will get past those. So if you wanted to clean the windows behind these corner solar guards, the screws here and here will have a T shape instead of a screw shape. So you'll just give it a quarter of a turn. They'll come out of that channel and they're going to hinge away from the trailer. Make sure that when you do so that you've got a hold of it. If the wind grabs it and slams it open, there's not a stop and it could put a crease in the side of your trailer. We'll go ahead and close this back down. The next thing we'll talk about are your batteries. They're in this box right here behind the propane cover. These are AGM batteries. That stands for activated glass mat. What that means for you folks is that they are sealed, so you will not have to worry about maintenance in the water level on these. There are 2 fuses in here I want you to be aware of. On this red line in this large black case, it's going to be the fuse for your tongue jack. Let's get this open. This is going to be a large 30 amp blade fuse. The tongue jack is wired directly to the battery, so if you're having trouble with it running, the first thing I want you to check is the fuse. Also, here is a small 15 amp blade fuse for your solar plug. That's this solar plug here. In addition to your onboard solar, you can attach a portable panel and it will augment what you've got with you. You'll note that next to your solar plug is where you're going to find the handle for your spare tire. Okay, so you're going to pull a cotter pin and release that slide pin. The handle will drop straight down and your spare will slide out towards you. It's going to be 80 psi on your spare tire, just like your road tires. Moving back to your tongue jack is power. There is a light in case you've got to connect it at night. This particular tongue jack does not stop immediately when you release the trigger. You want to let it come to a stop before you reverse directions, but if you forget and immediately reverse directions, the large fuse is going to allow it to overamp a little bit. We will find a manual crank that will be able to fit down here in the top. If you've lost power, you'll be able to crank it on or off your tow vehicle. But again, because it is wired directly into the batteries, if you've lost power, the first thing I want you to check is the fuse. We'll talk about your propane service next. You've got 2 30-pound bottles. They will already be full. In between is going to be an automatic regulator. If you're running both bottles open, when you run one empty, it will automatically internally switch over to the other bottle. You can point this little post that is on the regulator at one bottle or another, and it will pull from that bottle provided that it is open. Now, the regular trailers, the Globetrotters, do not come with a gauge on your propane, so I would recommend that you run one bottle open and run one bottle closed. So when you run it empty, you actually have to physically come outside and open the other bottle. That way you're not suddenly without propane in the middle of the night. We'll leave this one open for now so we can test a few things on the inside. I also want to mention you've got an external propane port over here. This is a low pressure, pre-regulated up to 25,000 BTU service. It's going to be good for running a little camping stove or maybe even a little space heater. If you come around the corner here, we've got your gross vehicle weight and tire pressure sticker. Again, 80 psi on your tires. You want to maintain that pressure for best towing and also best tire wear. Now the stud below and its friend down there at the end, as well as their twins on the other side, will drop your stabilizers. The Globetrotters come with power stabilizer jacks, so when we get around to that control panel, we'll use that to drop them down. But if you've lost power, you'll be able to crank them back up with the manual crank that is provided. Next to that is where we'll find the storage for your sewer line. This tube will hold a 15-foot collapsible sewer hose. This one's just for storage. Coming a little further back, we've got your outdoor shower. Now, if you're using the outdoor shower with the onboard water tank, to get pressure here, you're going to need to turn on the onboard water pump. When you are connected to your city water connection, the city water connection will provide pressure throughout the trailer. So you'll already have water here, and with the 2021 models, they have the on-demand water heater. So if your propane bottle is open, all you'll have to do is open the hot water valve here, and within about 20-30 seconds, you will also have hot water here. Now, when you winterize the trailer, I will recommend that you disconnect the wand and drain it. The wand is made of plastic. I've seen a lot of these come back cracked. I will actually capture the little rubber gasket here, which is where you would hang the wand as you're soaping up. And I will stow it just like this. As long as you leave these knobs turned off, you won't have any water leaking out of here. And it's just as simple as putting it back together if you needed to use it. That way you guys don't forget. Next will be the fill port for your freshwater tank. This is just your gravity port. Stick your water hose in there and fill your fresh water up. If you overfill the fresh tank, it will come out of the vent port right here and not inside the trailer. I am going to show you how you can set up the monitor so that you can look in this window right here and watch the status of your tanks as you fill or empty them. Please remember to cycle through the freshwater tank every 2 weeks or so. The water will start to taste a little stale, and especially in the summertime, after about 30 days, the water in there is going to start to smell like feet. The drain for the freshwater tank is right here in between the two tires. There's a little white petcock. Turn the flag at the top towards the rear, and it will slowly drain out. Heading back this way, we've got your city water connection. When you connect your water hose here, it will provide on-demand water throughout the trailer. This one has a built-in 50 PSI regulator, so you don't need to add an external water regulator, but it is also plumbed through the onboard water pump. So if you're staying at a camping site that has weak water pressure, you can turn on the onboard water pump and it will boost the pressure at all your faucets. But remember, this does not fill the freshwater tank. The city water connection and the freshwater tank are two separate items. They do come together at the water pump. You don't actually need any water in your city water in your freshwater tank if you're operating off of your city water connection. Below that is your waste tank cleanout valve. When you attach your water hose here, it puts water directly into the black waste tank, which is where the toilet empties. It's designed to help you flush that out. Down below is your waste cleanout. You do have a light in case you've got to connect at night. On the left-hand side, the main holding tank will be the black tank, and on the right-hand side, the auxiliary tank is going to be the gray tank. And it does say wash here next to that to help remind you to do that one second. Of course, you always begin with the black tank. Before you pull the valve, I want you to attach your water line to the waste cleanout and start to introduce fresh water. This is a gravity drain, so you're going to need the maximum volume of water in here to help carry all that solid waste out. So I want you to fill it as full as you're comfortable, 80, 90%. I will fill it up to 100%, come over here and pull the valve. You'll notice that the water comes out of this port much faster than you can get it in here. So when you see the flow diminish, close the valve and fill it right back up to the top with fresh water. You're going to fill and empty this tank 3 or 4 times until that flow goes from muddy to clear. Once it's as clean as you can stand, close the valve and continue to allow water to fill into the black waste tank so that you've got something in there for your chemical to dissolve and diffuse into. I will typically fill it until it reads about 5%. Turn your water off, go inside at that point, and add your tank chemical into the toilet so you don't forget. You want to leave that chemically treated water in there all the time, so as you tow the trailer, it's going to slosh around, helping to keep the insides clean. Come back outside and do your gray tank second. The gray tank is going to hold mostly soapy water from your sinks and showers. It's going to help wash this pipe out. Take care that you do not open both valves at the same time. If you do, the black tank will flow into the gray tank and contaminate it. And don't leave your valves open at your camping site. You must use the capacity of the tanks and then empty the waste tanks. You will not be able to create a flow-through situation by leaving your valves open. We'll head back this direction. Of course, you've got your camp power coming in here. It's a 50 amp service at 110 volts, and this is going to be your shore cord. It is 25 feet long. Below that is a cable and satellite port. They are labeled cable and satellite, and they terminate in different places inside the trailer. So once we get inside, we'll talk again about that. And of course, finally here at the end, we have the exhaust for your furnace. Those folks of you that live down here in the South, I always recommend that you put the little screen on there to keep those mud dauber wasps out. We do have those available for you. We'll come around the back here. Starting at the top, you have a backup camera. This backup camera has a microphone. So whoever's back here giving directions, if you speak towards the camera, you can be heard wherever the monitor is. But remember, it's only a one-way. from the camera to the monitor. We'll come back around the corner here and all the way up to the front.
Customer service, you have a call on line 1. Customer service, line 1.
Now up here in the front, we've got your main outside storage compartment. There is a light inside here, and inside here we'll find the actual shore cord for this trailer. They also come with a 50 to 30 amp drop pigtail. This will enable you to plug into a 30 amp service. It is going to limit you to one air conditioner. It will be whichever air conditioner you turn on first. Also in here we have a little 3-foot propane line that will fit that port in the front. The manual crank for your tongue jack. And all of the 2021 models come with a 4-way collapsible tire tool. Remember, the light does not come on or off as you open and close the door. So you want to make sure you've got that turned off. Next to that is your on-demand water heater. There is a master disconnect switch here and a pressure relief valve here. Those will allow us to service the water heater, but for you guys, it's going to be basically maintenance free. The default for the control panel on the water heater is on. So when you hit the master disconnect for the trailer, the water heater will already be on, but it is on demand, so it's not going to actually do anything until you draw some water through it. Heading this direction, of course, we've got your external AC plug, just your standard dual 15 amp, only available when you're plugged into your shore service. This one's not going to work off of your inverter circuit. Up here will be the back side of your vent hood. Now there are 2 tabs that are holding this door shut. You want to push those open to allow it to vent. But make sure you've secured it with these tabs when you're towing. This door is made of plastic, and the negative pressure from towing could cause some damage heading down the road. Now this control panel here is where we'll drop your power stabilizers. Remember, these are just stabilizer jacks, so before you drop them down, you want to make sure that you have already leveled the trailer and that you have disconnected your tow vehicle. If you were to operate the tongue jack with the stabilizers down, you're going to wind up putting too much pressure on one end or another and causing them to collapse. So level the trailer side to side first, disconnect your tow vehicle, level the trailer front to back with the tongue jack, and then it's okay to drop them down. Of course, you have the rear control and the forward control, and up and down. They can be run simultaneously. Now these are going to stop on their own. I will go ahead and stop them before they draw themselves too far up under the trailer. If you notice they're coming too far under the trailer, you might have a hard time getting them back out. Of course, want to make sure that you've brought them back up before you head out. Folks will typically say that these are the last things you put down and the first things you bring up when you're ready to leave. Once I've got them up, I will bump them once to make sure they're seated. And of course, close the control panel. All right, we're gonna pull your awnings out now. We're gonna start on the road side. The one on the road side has a little hook style latch. You wanna make sure you rotate this out of the way. We'll come over here to the strap. Pulling away from the trailer, we'll capture it right here on this hook on the side of the trailer there. We'll come around the back, we'll pull the rear one out. The one on the rear does not have a latch. So we'll be able to grab the strap and just pull it right out. These stalks must be rotated all the way around and captured here. They are simply too long to go this direction. So all the way around. And of course we'll roll this guy up and capture it right there. Coming around to the curbside. The main awning is power. So the curbside awning control panel is right here inside the door. Make sure that when you're not actually running the awning in or out, that you have the panel switched off. So the first thing we'll do is turn the panel on, and we'll press the open button. Now, it will start to stack here just a little bit. When it does, just give it a little help. Now, this awning like all the awnings on your trailer, is a sunshade. So if you have more sunlight coming in from one direction or another, having it tilted at an angle is totally appropriate. We're going to press the tilt front button. We're going to drop the front end down. Now you can pause it anywhere along its path if that is sufficient to block the sun by pressing that button again. However, because you have to use the same button for all the functions, if you want to bring it up, you're going to have to bottom it out first. Now it will only allow you to drop one side at a time. So if the sun is shifted and we need to drop the rear arm, we're going to have to bring the front arm up first. We'll do that now. While we're waiting for that to come back up, I want to point out up top, you do have an LED light strip that you can dim. So that'll dim down, or you can turn it off completely. Remember, it does not turn off automatically when you fold the awning in, so you are going to want to make sure you've got the switch turned off. Now, we'll drop the rear by pressing the tilt rear button. Now, like I mentioned, you can only drop one side at a time, but if you have one side or another side down and the wind picks up or it starts to rain, you can simply press close and it will fold in from there. You don't need to extend that arm beforehand. So because we have the rear down, we'll press close, and from here it's going to go ahead and fold back in. All right, of course, make sure to remember to turn your control panel back off. Just like so. We'll come around the back and put this one away. Now, if you need to, if you're fairly short, you can use the tool to return the awning. I want you to run it until the fabric contacts the metal, and then let it snap in those last few inches so it's nice and tight. Make sure you do remember to re-engage the travel latch on the roadside awning. Just like so. All right, before we head inside, we'll talk about your entry step. Now, you can use the entry step in this manner, but if you'd like to get the lower step out, the first thing you'll do is lift the rear of the step and push the front towards the trailer. Do not allow the front to come forward. If you do, you'll wind up with the step upside down. So push the front towards the trailer and roll it all the way around. Now, in order to stow them both, we're going to push in on the hinges and fold that lower step straight up. From here, we're going to roll it onto the upper step. And now, if we lift slightly, we'll release the hinges and we can slam it up underneath. Make sure that when you do so that you do it from the center and not from the side so you don't pinch your fingers. Looks like this. So hinges released, slammed underneath. Now, in order to get them back out, you want to grab one hook or another. They are connected. But when you pull these up, pull them up and hold them up so that way they don't catch that upper step as it goes by. Just like so. And then again, lift the rear of the step and push the front towards the trailer as you roll it all the way around. Now, we'll grab a set of keys and we'll go over the main entry door. These doors take 8 hours to build, and they were built in pairs. So this has always been the screen door to go with this main entry door. It also takes 11 hours to install these doors, so we try our best not to replace one. But over time, it may come out of shape, especially the screen door. Being very thin and lightweight, the number one thing that will distort that screen door is if you have it closed onto the trailer and you close the main door onto it. They were built as a pair. They're designed to be closed as a pair. So you want to make sure that you have them secured together. And the reason is you have a thick rubber gasket and a two-stage latch. So if you do not close the door with enough force, that second stage does not engage. Now you can just push it until it latches, but the door was designed to be slammed. So don't be afraid to give it a little force. Now the large key is going to be for your deadbolt, the one with the brass end, and the smaller key with the silver end will be for the door latch. The deadbolt on this trailer is a post. Take care that's not sticking out when you go to slam the door. But use this when you're towing the trailer. It's going to do a much better job of keeping the door shut than this locking claw. When this is locked, it will still be open and it's going to close around that stud. Theoretically, the trailer could get twisted or tweaked and this could come undone. This post is going to prevent that. Make sure that you do not leave your key in the door and open the door all the way, or you're going to put a dent in a nearly $10,000 panel. You'll also break your key off. It is possible, if you're not paying close attention, to lock yourself out. I do recommend that you make a plain copy of just the latch key and find a secure place on the trailer itself to stow it. One other thing I will mention about the latch. When you lock the latch, it's going to click. When you unlock the latch, it's probably not going to click. So that's one way to tell if you've actually locked it versus unlocking it. Now, if you'll follow me inside, as we come in, I will point out that on either side of the door, you've got some switches. So over here, we have your master disconnect starting at the bottom. This is where you'll turn the trailer battery off for storage. Above that is the interior light switch. Also on a dimmer, just like the awning, so we can dim the overheads or turn them off completely. And of course, above that is your awning control. This light switch will be the overhead entry door. So right above the main entry door. And then the one above that is going to be the galley light. So the two lights right there over the galley. Over here on the other side, we of course have the awning control, and above that is the cabinet accent light. So this switch here is going to turn off the little accents on top of your cabinets. And then a dual 12-volt charge port there. Of course, down below you have a fire extinguisher and a little storage compartment here. Inside we'll see the subwoofer. Now, your dinette can be converted into a bench and a table. I'm sorry, a bed rather. What we'll do now is convert it down into a bench so that you can see how that happens. We're going to disconnect these latches here. Push these cushions back. We want to separate the tabletops. And then there's a little button on the top of the table leg. You'll push that in, and then I'll just kind of pop the table off, like so. Set that aside, and then down here we'll push this little tab to free the table leg. We'll set these aside for now, and we'll get rid of this tabletop. Same thing, push the little button. Release the leg like so. Now there are spaces to store these legs inside the wardrobe. Now Airstream has designed this so that you can open these drawers here. Placing the thicker of the two cushions across that space to create a bench. Just like so. Now I'm not keen on setting on these drawers. So what I will do instead is take the rear portion of the table, slide it underneath these cushions like you would if you were making it into the bed. And I will take the narrower and place it there instead. So that way you're putting your weight on the tabletop and not on the hinges or the slides of the drawer. You can also return the table just like so. And you have several options for use as well. All right. Also, have another portion of the bed that's going to slide out here. I want you to remember that this portion is unsupported, so make sure you're not doing any jumping jacks on this end here, and you'll find the cushions for this inside the wardrobe. Little storage below, a couple of tubs in there for you. Next to that is the intake for your furnace. So if you're using the furnace, make sure you're not blocking this port with any blankets or towels. And we do have one more little drawer right here. Now we'll take our table leg, and in the wardrobe, we are going to find the other cushions and the two little keepers for your table legs. Also in there we'll see the manual crank for your stabilizers and your awning tool. And if you look up here in the top, you've got the bag of service manuals. That will come with every trailer. All right, headed back towards the entrance. In this cabinet here is where we're going to find the monitor for your backup camera. That will get paired up before you guys leave. Your DVD Blu-ray player here. And also your radio. There is an app that you can download to your phone that will allow you to control the radio from your phone. The radio does not boot up immediately. It takes about 90 seconds. Behind this box is where we're going to find the termination point for the satellite port. So you can actually pull this free of the wall. Coming out of the wall will be a cable coax for your signal in. It is set up so that you could semi-permanently attach your dish receiver here, add a splitter box behind there, connect it to the DVD player, and both signals will pass out onto both televisions, onto the HDMI 1 slot, which is currently where you'll find the DVD player. All right, we've almost got the radio booted up here. Now, this little code, MSRA770, is the code you'll find when you're connecting via Bluetooth. We're going to press this button here. We're going to go to Bluetooth, and then over here to make it discoverable. Once it's discoverable, again, you'll look for this little code, and it will pair, and it'll allow you to use whatever music that you've got on your phone. Short press of this button is going to mute the system. To turn it off, you want to hold your finger on the button there, just like so. All right. Now over here we have your solar monitoring panel. The solar system on this trailer is automatic. So as long as you've got sunlight on your solar cells, it's already charging your batteries. The select and the setup will enable us to switch over to lithium batteries, and it will charge those as well. Next to that is where we'll find your sea level monitor. This is going to give you your battery voltage. 12.9 volts is what you'll see. Water tanks are displayed in a percentage. So this is going to be 25% full on your fresh tank. Gray tank is empty. And 20% full on your black tank. Now, on any of the water tanks, if you press the button twice, you'll get a little red dot next to that number. That dot will hold the value on this screen for about 5 minutes, so as you're filling and emptying the tanks, you can look in the window here and watch the status of your tanks. This is true for all of the water tanks, but not the batteries. Doesn't matter how many times you press that button, within a few minutes it's going to go out. This switch right here will be for your onboard water pump. This is an on-demand water pump, so it will pressure up and stop, and it's not going to come back on until you create a demand. So if you guys are boondocking, you can leave this turned on all day without fear of it drawing your batteries down. And of course, next to that is your inverter control. Now the inverter takes a short press to turn it on. It will power the 2 televisions and the DVD player off of just the battery circuit. Those items require an AC signal. When you're boondocking, all you have available is DC. Turn on the inverter to switch that over to AC. Short press of the button turns it on, but you must hold your finger on the button until it flashes to get it to turn off, just like so. Now we can pull this strap here, and this TV will come away from the wall. And behind there we will find the power switch for your digital antenna. On the roof is a boosted digital antenna. When the green light is on, it's allowing you to pull in your local signal from your TVs and also for the radio. This is a two-way switch, so we'll press this black button here. That light's going to go out. It is now allowing the signal to pass through from the cable port on the side of the trailer. So remember, the satellite port terminates where the DVD player is, but the cable port terminates into the TV, and it is already wired in, but you must turn the digital antenna booster off to allow the signal to pass through. Now over here we've got your vent hood with a light, and of course below your range. To get the range to light, we'll turn the knob over here to light and hold it in initially and click the igniter. Once it gets warm enough, it'll stay on its own. And below that, we've got your microwave. Now this microwave has a convection and a broiler feature. It is going to default as a microwave. Remember, it's only available when you're plugged into your shore service. The little rack is for use with the convection and the broiler feature. Make sure you remove it when you're using it as a microwave. Pantry shelves are adjustable, just like so. Over here we've got your AC/DC refrigerator. So when you're plugged into your shore service, this refrigerator will automatically be running off of the AC. Pull that shore plug and it will automatically switch over to DC without you having to do anything to facilitate that. Takes 2 to 3 hours to get completely cold. The on-off knob is right here, 0 through 7. Of course, 7 is the coldest. 0 is off. 2 to 3 hours to get completely cold. If you have gotten it completely cold without an external power source, it will stay cold in there all by itself for 5 or 6 hours. This will automatically switch to DC, so as you're towing, the tow vehicle is charging your batteries. If it was already completely cold when you set out, it will not draw your batteries down further than you'll be able to charge them up. So you should arrive at your camping site with your house batteries completely charged and your refrigerator still completely cold. But it must have been completely cold when you set out. You will also have to leave the master disconnect switch on to facilitate this, so I will recommend that you turn everything else in the trailer off. And then, of course, as we come back here, we've already looked in the wardrobe. We'll talk about your shower door. The shower door is made of glass. This little tab here is keeping that door shut as you tow. You don't want it flying open. It could possibly shatter, but you can actuate this little tab from the inside, so that way if you turn and bump the door with your elbow, it won't knock it open and spill a bunch of water on the floor. Up here at the top, we have a manual vent fan. We can push this one open. The little red button's going to turn it on. Pull it closed. You have a little clothesline here that we can stretch across and tighten down. It's going to be good for your bathing suits or your dish towels, but not your bath towels. Shower head has a pause feature, so you can pause that water while you're soaping up and help conserve the capacity of your gray tank. I do recommend you tow with your drain plug in the floor just to prevent any gray water from splashing back as you tow. Finally, we'll find the light switch on the outside. Step past me here, we'll go over your bathroom next. In the bathroom, up at the top, we'll find the same manual vent fan. Medicine cabinet here. And of course, the light switch next to the water heater control. Like I mentioned, the default for this is on. So we can press this red button and turn it off, but if we turn the master battery disconnect off and on, it will just come right back on. Now I have it set to 118 degrees. That's what most folks are used to it coming out of the faucet at. It will get as hot as 124 degrees or as cool as 96 degrees. Of course, it's an on-demand water heater, so all we have to do is create a demand, and with your propane tanks open, it will make hot water within about 20 or 30 seconds. You'll get a little indicator that it's working. When it lights, we'll have a flame here in the middle, and once the temperature crosses about 110 degrees, you'll have hot water coming out. So it just went warm right there at 106, and already at 108, here comes the hot water. Of course, once it gets hot, it will stay hot until you run it out of water or run out of propane. Now, to get your toilet to flush, with your city water connected or your water pump turned on, a partial step is going to fill that bowl. And a full step flushes. Of course, you do add your tank chemical straight down into the toilet. Before you tow out, I want you to disconnect your city water connection and turn your water pump off. Step here on the lever for the toilet for just a moment to relieve the pressure on the water lines. You can do the same thing with the sinks. The toilet is faster, and if you use the toilet, it will clear the water that's in the bowl so it doesn't slosh out on the floor as you tow. Finally, in this cabinet is where we'll find your toilet paper. Just like so. All right, we'll head off into the bedroom. Now, in the bedroom, the bed is going to lift. That will let you gain access to some of the storage that's underneath, and of course, you've got your main breaker and fuse box right here on the side of the bed. Now, all of your breakers are listed on the sticker below, and all of your fuses are listed on the sticker to the right. The second breaker from the left is your GFI reset. Just like your GFI at home, it must be turned all the way off before it's going to allow you to reset, and these do not reset unless you're plugged into a 110 power source. All of your fuses are mostly just your standard 15 amp blade fuse with two exceptions, one 30 amp and one 1 amp. When one of the fuses goes out, you'll have a little red LED light that appears next to it that you should be able to see through this window here. Okay, the light switch is back here. Have a little switch at the top, same for the one at the head of the bed. Over here on the wall, we can turn off the cabinet accent. And then, of course, the overhead's on a dimmer switch as well. Now, Brian, if you'll trade me spots, we'll go over the HVAC control. Now, when the HVAC control is dark, the first press of any of the buttons is simply going to turn the backlight on. So you folks will end up hitting the buttons twice in a lot of cases. Backlight comes on, and now the control panel is turned on. Zone 1 is going to be the bedroom zone. By mode, the first option we'll have is the air conditioner. Now, these air conditioners do not fire up immediately. It's going to take just a few moments for it to charge the capacitors. We'll see a little hourglass appear here. The fan will come on, within a few moments, and then the compressor will kick on once the hourglass disappears. Usually within about 30 seconds of the fan coming on. So there goes the fan right there. We're still waiting on the hourglass. And there goes the compressor. It'll start to hiss at you a little bit as it comes on. Please note at the bottom we've got a little fan symbol and it says auto. That is your speed control. You do have a 3-speed fan. We'll turn it down to low. It's going to take just a moment for it to catch up. These things don't react immediately. Now, you want to leave it in auto as the default, so that way when you turn the control panel on, the fan does not come on immediately. By mode, we'll have another auto at the top. The auto at the top will automatically switch between the air conditioner and the heat pump, depending on your ambient temperature and what you have it set for here. The heat pump is your next option. It's going to make a little squishy sound as it switches over. We'll see if we can hear that. Now, the heat pump is going to operate down to about 50 degrees ambient temperature. After that, you're going to want to switch over to the furnace, but the furnace is on zone 2. So on zone 1, after the heat pump, we do have a fan-only option, and then off. What we're going to do now is switch back over to the air conditioner. We'll switch zones. And because we're plugged into a 50 amp service, we'll fire up the second air conditioner. On a 50 amp service, they are both going to come on, but if we were plugged into a 30 amp service with one air conditioner already running, the second one's going to act like it wants to come on and it simply never will. It's not going to allow you to hurt it if you've not got enough power for it to operate. Now, when you've already got one air conditioner running, sometimes it takes a little while for the second one to come on. We just had the fan kick on right there. So here within a few seconds, the hourglass is going to disappear when the compressor comes on. We'll wait for that. And there goes the compressor. So what I'm going to do now is switch zones. We're going to cycle all the way through to off. And if you were standing here, you could put your hand up in front of the ducting so that you can see it's one set of ductwork with 2 air conditioners. There's no divider in the ducting here, so one air conditioner can cool or heat the entire trailer. Now on zone 2, you'll have the same options. So we have the auto at the top and the heat pump. After it squishes over, we'll switch to the furnace. There goes the squish. Now the furnace is going to disable the overhead, and it's going to come on down below separately. Remember, the furnace is your propane heat source. Even though it is controlled through this control panel, it will run off of just the batteries, whereas the air conditioner and the heat pumps will not run off of the batteries. Your furnace does not light immediately. It's going to take about 10 seconds to clear the combustion chamber, and when it does light, it will wail at you just a little bit, just like so. Now, if you're plugged into your shore service, you can select a fan speed, and it will turn on the overhead fan, and that's going to draw that furnace air up into the ducting and help redistribute it throughout the trailer, so that way you don't have any hot spots. Please remember to return the fan back to the auto before you turn the control panel off. You can press the zone button to force that overhead fan to turn off. Now, on zone 2, after the furnace, we have the same fan-only option. On the fan-only options, you will need to select a speed to get that fan to come on. And then off. Make sure that both zones are off before you turn the control panel off, so that way when you turn it back on, it does not come on to whatever you've been using previous. You'll also note, if you can hear it, the furnace is still running even though I have turned the control panel off. There is a 2-minute cool down cycle. You want to let that finish before you take the power away from the trailer. If you'll come back down here to the end with me, we'll talk about your fantastic exhaust fan. Now, this trailer only has one of these. It is a fully fantastic fan, so it does have the rain sensor even though it doesn't have the sticker. Now, this switch right here is the lid switch. Now, it's disabled until you've selected a speed, so we'll put it on 1, and now it will open. But this is just opening the lid. We'll turn the blade on here. Remember, this is an exhaust fan, so it's drawing air out. You do have a little thermostat here, so in between these clicks, when the temperature crosses that threshold, it will turn itself off and on. Of course, it has a rain sensor, so if it gathers enough moisture, it's going to close on its own, and when it does, it will shut itself off. You want to remember that the lid is made of plastic, so you don't want to tow with this open. Finally, there's a little 4-amp glass fuse here next to the speed control. If something stops that fan blade, it's going to burn up that fuse instead of burning up your fan motor. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed your walkthrough, and I hope you enjoy your trailer for many years to come. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching our video. If you have any questions or have any recommendations on content you'd like to see, make sure to drop a comment in the comment section below. If you enjoy our content, give us a like and be sure to subscribe to our channel. Thanks again from Airstream A DFW.